Welcome to our assignment, which is called Laura. My name is Ashley, together with my partner Andy. So why the hazard potential to risk to our business? Well, it will likely result in a circumstance or condition that would raise the danger of suffering a loss while the business is in operation, and it will create the physical and the moral risk. For physical hazard, it including any risk to building staff and business property. The common thing that we usually see is fire damage, theft, or vandalism repair costs, or insuring costs for employees when they were pinned or cut by our company machinery. From moral damage arise when partner runs the possibility of taking unintentional act that harm our interests. For example, a party has not entered into a contract in good faith or provided false information about its assets or liabilities. In the next slide, we will identify the specific tort commitments that our business can usually face too. It is negligence of product liability. This is happen when an issue with our recycling equipment forces us to make a large payment. This issue could be a malfunction, a safety hazard, a fire, or an explosion that could endanger to our customer and workers' life as well as their property and health. In the next slide, we will identify the four-part legal test for the tort. The first one is duty of care. Occurs when an individual or organization is aware that their actions or inaction potentially cause harm to another and they try to avoid that. The second one is breach the standard of care. Occurs when the defendant does not comply with the standard of care for a business or just a person. The third one is causation. Occurs when the plaintiff suffers suffering, loss, or injury due to the defendant's violation or as a result of it. And finally, it damage. Occurs when the plaintiff has lost or harmed and he or she must demonstrate it. Usually the judge just focuses on the type of harm, not the severity.
Now we will show how to apply the four-part legal test for the tort. Businesses own a duty of care to their customers, suppliers, and anyone else who could reasonably be expected to come into contact with their products or service. This included the original purchaser of the product or service, and also others who are not the original purchaser. Businesses are responsible. They have a duty to make sure that their product or service do not harm anyone. Second, breach their standard of care. A reasonable person is defined as a normal, an individual who acts according to generally accepted practice and conducts their affairs in a manner generally accepted by society. The reasonable person standard also applies on business because the business is a person in law. The law uses a legal test known as the but-for test, asking itself but for the action of the defendant, who would the harm have occurred? The main purpose of question is can the defendant in this case be stated to have caused the harm? The fourth one is the damage. The foreseeability also defined as the expectation of whether a reasonable person who could predict that a certain result may follow from their actions, how relevant to the kind of the harm and what degree of the harm the plaintiff suffered. That means that as long as the defendant could have anticipated harm of the general type that actually occurred, the defendant is usually held responsible for all the damage in result. Here, we will introduce the two strategies to minimize the risk of the hazard in our business. To minimize the risk of the hazard in our business, we would like to provide training to our employees. First, providing safety training. Employee must understand and acknowledge occupational safety and health legitimacy related to waste recycling industry, and then recognize the concept of safe working system as accident prevention. Thirdly, we make sure the employee know how serious of hazard and accident during operation of using recycle machine. That's why we need to recognize the importance of the training. Also, providing the knowledge of using protective equipment to avoid or minimize such hazards. Finally, the employee should know first aid knowledge for prevent the worsening of the accidents. The culture of safe working cycle and safety should take into account of the employee working condition. Another strategy to minimize the risk of the hazard is provision of appropriate equipment and safety instructions. Every machine is suitable for the intended usage and make sure use is appropriate. Regular inspection of the machine and safety equipment is necessary to maintain the safe working condition, and then everyone will feel well. We also give adequate information, for example, instruction and marking or warning attaching to every tools and machine.